The Nevada desert, home to one of America's most iconic landmarks, the Hoover Dam. Right next door, a team of engineers and construction workers are building America's longest concrete arched bridge.
Corey, pull that bottom handrail out!
They're falling way behind schedule. That's because they're facing some of the toughest obstacles ever seen in bridge construction. The heat, the height, and the heavens.
If it starts lightning, get away from these towers.
For this elite team, it's a titanic battle with the elements, and the clock is ticking. The Hoover Dam Bridge is construction on the edge of reason. There's the height, at 1,300 feet above the valley floor. This is a project where winds gust at over 80 miles an hour, and mistakes can cost lives. There's the heat. It's a bridge made of concrete, but in searing temperatures scorching over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. It's almost impossible to keep the concrete cool enough to pour. If it sets too quickly, it blocks the pipes or cracks. Result, disaster. And that's before you factor in Mother Nature. Two years into a 4-year project, the bridge is running seriously behind schedule. The man struggling to bring the project in on time and budget is team leader Dave Zanatel.
The Endeavor in perfect conditions is one of a kind, one that's many firsts in terms of construction, in terms of design, in terms of its overall magnitude.
The Hoover Dam Bridge is vital to connecting the southwestern U.S. states. For the past 70 years, Nevada and Arizona have been joined by a narrow road along the top of the Hoover Dam. Today, the road is continually clogged with traffic from frequent travelers. The new bridge will let the traffic flow freely between the two states without interfering with the dam. It will be supported by 15 pairs of concrete piers and a 16,000-ton arch. Each side of the arch will be anchored by an enormous steel and concrete foundation called a skewback. These skewbacks will bear the entire outward force of the arch. In the next week, this construction crew is facing one of the project's biggest challenges, pouring over 2,000 cubic meters of concrete in just one night onto the skewback foundation on the Arizona side. The steeper, craggier canyon wall. They call it the $1 million pour. Construction manager Wes Polnow has been building some of America's landmarks for 45 years.
Yes, it's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of money involved.
He's past retirement age, but this is one project he couldn't resist.
That's the greatest challenge that I've taken on.
Wes has been planning the $1 million pour for almost a year. He needs to be certain that the concrete will make its way safely through 820 feet of piping in searing ground temperatures of over 113 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's a critical part of the project, and it makes it a little more difficult here because we have to run our concrete slick line all the way down, and vertically we're dropping a good 300 feet.
The danger is that the heat could cook the concrete as it sets, blocking the pipes or leaving cracks in the skewback, with disastrous results for the whole operation. If all goes to plan, months of careful preparations will vanish successfully under 4,000 tons of solid concrete.
It'll be a pleasure to see it all buried.
The Hoover Dam Bridge poses a series of unprecedented problems. To overcome them, they've gathered a top team of construction workers.
Literally, the best of the best from all around the world and all around the country have signed on to be a part of this. And it's quite a feeling every day to know you're going to go face a big challenge, but you've got the right kind of people who want to be there to do it.
Carl Jensen, chief iron worker, leads a crew putting up the massive columns that will carry the longest concrete span in America.
Well, we're in a canyon. I mean, 60, 70 mile an hour winds.
So we got a lot to look forward to, I guess.
Carl is racing JP's team on the next column to reach road level, but Carl's crew is falling behind. The pressure's on. To stay on schedule, these two crack teams of ironworkers have to top off their columns as soon as they can. But their progress depends on the weather, and tempers are boiling over.
Corey, pull that bottom handrail out. No, I gotta come way low on that end. Ugh.
This construction team may finally go over the edge. The two crews of ironworkers continue to race to top off the massive columns. The columns will support the biggest concrete arch in the United States. Carl Jensen and his team arrive on site to begin their 10-hour shift, but there's a problem. The winds inside the canyon are rising beyond safety limits.
25 miles an hour, we can't go out in a man basket, is what the situation is. 30 miles an hour, they can't really use the cranes, as far as luffing the cranes over.
We knew when we bid the contract, it said right in there that we were going to have some windy days, but I think we've had a little more than usual this spring. I mean, the last 3 months, we've almost lost a third of our time.
Carl's team have to wait and hope that the winds will die down. For the moment, they're anchored to the ground, but they're impatient. If they don't reach the column in time, they'll lose pay. The high winds are just as big a problem at the precast factory, 12 miles away. The bridge will be made of 440 separate segments. Every one of them has to be produced here, in a dust bowl in the middle of the desert. Pouring concrete here is plagued by the same strong winds and boiling heat, similar to the Black Canyon of the Colorado River. The deadlines here are just as tight as on the bridge. Every day they need to cast 2 huge concrete segments. Each one has to be perfect.
It's getting hotter. We'll just go through a couple of different scenarios to make sure everything works out and we don't get any cracks.
Any cracks would mean scrapping the segment, wasting precious time and thousands of dollars. For the men here, it's a daily battle against the elements. Back at the bridge, the winds have dropped by 5 miles an hour. It looks as if Carl's crew can start work.
I'm almost getting ready to see what they've done to me here.
There are 15 pairs of massive concrete towers on the bridge. They're now approaching their most perilous point. As they rise hundreds of feet in the air, they become more and more precautious in the high desert winds. Very soon, they'll need bracing, but first they have to be lifted up. The columns are built side by side by 2 teams of ironworkers. Carl and his crew have fallen behind JP's crew on the next tower. They need to catch up, and fast. But they get off to a bad start when JP's crew heads out first.
We're gonna be 3 ahead by tonight. We got them. Guaranteed.
Ain't gonna beat us that way, You're gonna be too busy to get ahead of us now. Yeah, we're catching tonight.
One crew has been a little bit behind because we've had some alignment difficulties, and the other group is ahead of them, and so there's a little contest going on there.
Hi, James, working up.
Carl's crew of ironworkers are top pros. Dangling over 1,300 feet in the air is just a daily commute for this crew. They're not the kind of guys who like to take a step back, and they certainly don't like to come in second. As soon as they reach the tower, they know they won't be making up ground today.
We're gonna go up to 90,000 again. Just stop me at 90,000.
Finally, the last segment is in place. The bad news? It's crooked. There may have been an error at the precast factory or during installation. Either way, it's out by a fraction of a centimeter. Just about right simply doesn't cut it. They'll have to raise the segment and start again. At hundreds of feet up, it's a dangerous move.
The risky procedure, lifting the segment back up again, because sometimes the segment doesn't come up when it should. And it tends to want to spring up. We've had them jump up a couple feet. It gets a bit risky.
At the precast factory 12 miles away, they're ready to cast their first block of the day. They have no margin for error here. They spray to stop specks of dust from damaging the concrete as it sets. Each block is measured to within fractions of a centimeter.
Well, there's a spec book on it. It has to be in tolerance. And intolerance is within 4 thousandths, and 4 thousandths is not very much to play with. But if you get much more than that, then it's just throwaway stone and start over.
The latest segment's in trouble. In the punishing winds and heat, the concrete's setting fast, but it's not quite true to spec. If they don't act now, hours of work will have to be scrapped.
So they're down there turning the brace, and we're gonna bring it back in because that's 3 thousandths over our spec.
You won't move it at all if it sets up.
They've got minutes to rework the segment before the concrete sets. It's a race against time. The Hoover Dam Bridge is among the boldest construction projects ever attempted. Building over the treacherous Black Canyon of the Colorado River, the construction teams are battling soaring temperatures, gale force winds, and a 1,300-foot drop to the waters below. The best of the best will soon be pushed to the limit in the million-dollar pour. As one crew struggles with this segment at the precast factory, Carl Jensen and his crew are facing a major challenge hundreds of feet up. They're wrestling with a block that's beyond tolerance.
All right, James, nice and easy now.
These concrete segments weigh up to 40 tons. They're not supposed to be moved once they're in place. Carl's team is going to have to shim the block. Shimming means to level the blocks with thin patches of wire mesh.
These are the shims we use when we have to shim the segments up to keep them plumb. It would just be a matter of putting the shims inside the keyway holes. The guy up there shooting it tells us how much to shim, and that tells us what we need.
Back at the precast factory, they're still struggling to save their stone.
All 4 control points, they all checked out within specs. They were all under 3 thousandths. So this is a good stone. It'll look good out of the bridge.
The new segment is now ready to take its place on the Hoover Dam Bridge. Soon, it will follow the others from the plant to the bridge. At the canyon, on the tower next to Carl's crew, JP's crew are setting another segment.
That's good right there.
They move even further ahead. The chances of Carl's crew catching up are fading fast. JP's crew is now 3 segments ahead of Carl's. It's time to celebrate over lunch.
Gotta have a hot lunch. You work hard, right? Can't eat cold sandwiches every day. Well, they got all young guys over there. We got the old man team over here. So we're still ahead of them. Hot lunch done.
No lunch for Carl and his crew. They need to make up for lost time. The next challenge is to get the shimmed block back in place and glue it down. When you're gluing in the desert heat, seconds count.
Being a hotter day today, we have to do the quick set glue. So we have to race against time as far as setting a segment. We have an hour to set the segment down, stress the bolts before the glue sets up. If the glue sets up before we get the segment down, then we have to, it doesn't work. So this is kind of new for all of us, setting concrete like this.
In searing temperatures of over 104 degrees, This is an operation that can easily go wrong.
Okay, now we're mixing A and the B mix. We have a 3-minute mixing time.
If the glue sets before the segment's lowered, then the tower could be weakened. Putting it right could cost millions of dollars. Failing to put it right could endanger the lives of the people crossing the bridge.
We're gonna have to mix another can up. You go over the keyway thing with him? Down. Got about another 1.5 feet. Okay, another couple inches. Centered up.
Carl's team won their race to glue the segment down, but in the race for height, there's still 3 huge segments behind JP's crew. Morale is suffering. As they finally break for lunch, thoughts soon turn to home.
You get homesick, see the rest of the family, where you grew up, friends and stuff.
I'm happily divorced. I hope the ex-wife sees that.
That's the iron worker trade, ain't it?
Yeah. It's part of a pre-wreck. Must be divorced and be a felon, huh? Be an iron worker?
1 or 2 girlfriends in every town.
Yeah.
I got this thing loving fast, too.
Carl's crew is 3 blocks behind JP's crew, but they haven't given up the race for height just yet.
Then we can start cheating.
After almost a year's meticulous planning, this day is perhaps the single most challenging on the entire project, the $1 million pour. To anchor the huge arch of the bridge, an enormous steel foundation called a skewback has to be filled with over 2,000 cubic meters of concrete, and it all has to happen in one night. Even with months of planning, in the next 12 hours, everything could go wrong. Over 100 workers have been drafted. The $1 million pour could be the biggest overtime spend on the entire project. West Pole now rallies the troops.
You guys control this pour. Make sure you say stop if we have to stop.
Along with the blistering heat, the 980-foot sheer drop down the canyon wall makes this one of the hardest places on the planet to pour concrete.
Wish good luck, you guys.
What?
Good luck.
You'll make it.
Okay? Keep a cool head.
The pour has to take place at night to keep the temperature of the concrete down and prevent it from cracking. The pipes down the cliff face will be sprayed with water, and the concrete will be cooled by pumping nitrogen into the mix. If the concrete hits the skewback and the water evaporates in the heat, a chain reaction may begin. If it does, the temperature of the concrete can shoot up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Cracking would be inevitable.
If we let that concrete sit in that pipe down at the bottom more than 5 minutes, I think we're going to be pretty much done with this pour.
On the $1 million pour, one simple mistake could jeopardize the foundation of the arch. To get back on track, they might have to drill out the concrete and rebuild the skewback, a disastrous waste of time and money. As evening falls, the ground temperature is still over 104 degrees. The high-tech equipment and pipes have to be kept as cool as possible.
Okay. Okay, bye.
But Wes gets some bad news. One of their suppliers has just told them he's short of trucks to deliver the concrete.
I'm not too sure 14 trucks is enough.
I don't think so either. I mean, I don't think so either.
I think 14 trucks. We run 9 trucks the other night. We got 35 yards an hour.
Yeah.
14 trucks. We may get 50 yards.
They'll be getting less than half as much concrete than they need to lay. As if that wasn't bad enough, it looks like the concrete won't arrive at the right temperature, meaning 80 degrees Fahrenheit or less. If it's any hotter on arrival, it will set before it reaches the skew back, and the pour will turn into one big, expensive blockage.
We were shooting for 80. 90 kills us.
You'd think they'd had the son of a up and the tank full and everything else, wouldn't you?
The big pour is looking like $1 million disaster.
I just don't feel good about it. We can't get anything going right. Now we have no backup plan if we have a...
After 6 hours and thousands of dollars spent on wasted manpower, Wes and Bill make the tough decision. They call their concrete suppliers and notify the main site office.
Yeah, Tara? We just bought some pour. It's over. History.
We're not going to go tonight. We got too many variables. We're concerned about it. Feds are concerned about it. So we don't want to try it. So.
Yeah, Jeff, we're going to botch it.
Not a single foot of concrete has been poured. It's a heavy blow for the construction team, striving to get the entire bridge back on schedule. Morale is hitting rock bottom. With time and money spiraling out of control, the crew is unsure of when they'll get the $1 million pour back up and running.
They don't care.
This sucks. We bring everybody in like that, and then we don't work.
Over budget and over schedule. For the Hoover Dam Bridge, the situation is critical, with daily temperatures reaching over 104 degrees and gusting winds of over 80 miles an hour. The crew has enough problems on their hands. They're desperate to complete the $1 million pour, but there are problems with their suppliers. Carl and JP's crews are racing to complete the columns, but there's another huge problem here too. The construction contractors planned for fierce winds, but they've been far worse than predicted. The slender columns have reached a critical height. When high winds could seriously damage them, they must anchor them with a temporary steel wind brace, 114 feet long, the span of a small aircraft. It's a beast to put in place.
We can only come up so high with the columns, then we have to put the wind bracing in and then continue with the columns.
But the weather's still fighting them all the way. As soon as the iron workers get out there, they have to come straight back in, and the cranes have to be shut down.
Oh, they think the crane got hit by lightning and it screwed up the computer screen a little bit. So until they can come over here and reprogram it, we're shut down for a few.
The cranes can't swing from side to side. It's another damaging delay for the project. Just 1 hour into their shift, the two crews have to wait for Brett, the electrical engineer. He'll work out just how much damage the lightning has caused.
The problem is they can't luff that north tower on the Arizona side to side. So we'll go see if we just lost some settings or...
Until Brett fixes the cranes, it's too dangerous for anyone to work on site. It's costing the iron workers wages, and they're not happy.
And we're not going to get this bridge done sitting in here. I'm telling you right now. We're trying to get a plan together.
Sitting there for 3 hours doing nothing and the crane breaks down. It's tough.
I mean, it hit the tower a couple times, but not shut anything down before. This sucks. We bring everybody in like that, and then we don't work.
All right, giving you a bump.
See, the brakes are just slamming it shut. Okay, thanks. We're shut down here.
The shutdown is costing the contractors a fortune. With the site shut down for an entire morning, the project is leaking cash.
A lot of money when you got people standing around. These guys are down for an hour or two. You know, it's not only scheduling, but in real dollar costs, it's huge. $50,000 to $70,000, you know, for every hour that something's not happening.
8 hours into the shift, one lightning bolt has cost the construction contractors thousands of dollars in lost time. It will be cheaper for the contractors to cancel the shift so everyone is sent home.
We're all headed home. We've been on downtime so long that they're gonna just go ahead and call it instead of keeping us around, and then come in on another day.
It's a major setback for the Hoover Dam Bridge project. With all the recent problems and setbacks, Dave Zanatel has called a crisis meeting to get the project back on track.
I'm essentially the captain of the team, but your success comes from the work of the team. So the challenge is, how do we get back on track? How do we recover? And you know, that's not something that one person can do by themselves. They have to, we have to just work that as a team and keep moving. Keep all eyes looking forward.
The big issues on the agenda are the massive costs caused by the weather delays and the failed big pour. One more aborted attempt and they'll be facing meltdown.
Total people on site is 168. During our pour, however, we hired about 21 temporary help. That's not counting the liquid nitrogen people.
The next attempt at the big pour is on hold until every last detail is in place. But everyone knows it has to happen soon or their problems will just keep mounting.
We're waiting for one of our pumps from Germany. Hopefully they get flown in this weekend. If not, I'm trying to arrange for another pump, for a spare pump.
The pressure's on. With recent financial losses in mind, they decide that the wind bracing on the columns has to be done as soon as possible, even if the winds are close to the safety limits. Here, the two teams of ironworkers, Carl's and JP's, will have to put aside their competition.
We got to the point where we have to put the wind bracing in, so now all of them are going to work together and put the wind bracing in, and then they'll continue on with the columns.
Bracing the columns means joining together at 4 points with a huge piece of welded steel. This is a job where a freak gust of wind or sudden movement could put lives at risk. The bracing has to be winched in over 900 feet above the canyon floor to the waiting ironworkers. The brace weighs 30 tons. In winds pushing safety limits, these ironworkers are putting their lives on the line.
Hey, I'm gonna trolley in again.
The ironworkers are just doing what they have to.
Hey, JP, we need a luff to the north.
Okay, that's trolley.
Each corner of the brace has to be bolted to a bracket on each of the columns. Even though the brace has a span of a small aircraft, the margin of tolerance is small. If these towers haven't been built to their exact specification, this huge chunk of metal simply won't fit.
All right, Jerry, we're gonna trolley you in a little bit. Jerry only, trolleying in. How much room you got between the beam and the segment? About a foot and a half. 2 foot?
Tensions are running high.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna bump the trolleys out. Till you guys touch. Trolley out. Okay, that's high.
Rope one over here.
Corey! Pull that bottom handrail out. Corey! I don't see you getting it. No, I gotta come way low on that end.
In the high winds, there's only so much the cranes can do. Carl has to maneuver the 30-ton brace with his bare hands.
Okay, I'll stop everybody for a minute. All right, there we got it. All right. I'm in. All right, where do you guys need to get in?
With the first corner in, there's only 3 more to go.
How do we look for tightness on that?
This looks pretty tight.
Okay, trolley out.
After 5 hours, the brace is finally in place, To everyone's relief, it fits.
Not going in cut. Went in perfect. Just like everybody planned. Lengths are good, everything's right. They're making up their bolts, we'll shim it out, and then we'll start drilling our side.
The columns can now resist the dangerous winds. Carl and the iron workers have taken a vital step forward for the whole project. Next up on the schedule is the crucial $1 million pour. For the iron workers, it's a job well done. They go and celebrate in one of Nevada's local casinos.
Nobody got killed. It was a good day.
Nobody got killed, that's right.
You know, all it takes is one mistake. One man can make one mistake and kill several guys. Wind plays a heavy factor when you're making heavy picks like that. So yeah, it's always a risk.
With the brace in position, the two crews will compete once again to reach road level, several hundred feet above the canyon floor.
So we got that wind bracing and now we could start stacking them together, so we'll start racing.
Yeah, we're gonna whip them this time. They're gonna be watching us go up. We're gonna be watching them stay where they're at, down below us.
The race is on. But will they be able to get the pour done before Mother Nature takes a hand? The Hoover Dam bridge site is up again. Every last detail checked and then double checked. The engineers decide on a second evening attempt on the $1 million pour on the Arizona side. Already facing schedule delays and an overspend, what happens in the next 12 hours is crucial. At 6 p.m., Bill Nickel is giving a pep talk to his team.
Okay, let's all gather around. We'll get going here. First thing about today is it's too windy to fly down. You're all going to have to walk down the hole. Make sure if you leave the hole for any reason at all and go someplace, that you let somebody know so we know where you're at. It's extremely dangerous. It's a little dark down there in places. We don't want anybody walking off the end and not knowing about it, okay? It's going to be a long pour. We're hoping to make it in 10 to 12 hours, which means we'll probably be here 14 hours after we get cleaned up. So we're going to be here a long time. Okay, guys, good luck. Let's go do it, okay?
The soaring temperatures and the 300-foot drop down the canyon wall means that there's a huge risk that the pipes could get blocked with solid concrete. If this happened, then the pour would have to be canceled again. A catastrophe for the entire project. This time, they're leaving nothing to chance.
We've had chillers going since Saturday, so we got cold water, which we didn't have last time. We got more than enough aggregate in both plants, which we didn't have last time. So we're in better shape this time.
The pump line down to the skewback has been dismantled top to bottom and double-checked to make sure it's up to the job.
I mean, if our pumps work and the concrete goes through, we'll be all right. And if the ready-mix plant delivers compatible concrete, we'll be good.
Okay.
Then they get some bad news. And this time, there's no one to blame.
They have a 50% chance of thunderstorms in Clark County tonight. You get some real weird lightning. Yeah, I warn you. If it starts lightning, get away from these towers.
It's 8 p.m., and it's too late to stop. Even with the threat of lightning, the concrete's on its way, and they just can't delay this pour any longer. Under pressure, Bill goes ahead and confirms the order for the concrete trucks.
Okay, I kicked the impact plant in because the fourth one's crossing the dam. So you should have all four plus the slurry here pretty soon.
The concern is whether the concrete will be delivered at the right temperature, 80 degrees Fahrenheit or below.
First two trucks, 94 degrees.
The first batch of concrete is too hot. All they can do now is inject it with nitrogen and hope it works.
You'll have to inject it pretty heavy.
Once again, they can't help feeling they've been let down by their concrete suppliers. Tempers are running high.
got enough nitrogen to cool it down from 85 to 60. If we have to cool it any further than that, we run out of nitrogen, which we run out of concrete, which will be in trouble.
As they struggle to get the concrete down to the right temperature, they prepare to send a grout slurry down the pipe to lubricate it before the thicker concrete follows. Seconds before they send it down, somebody notices a problem with the grout.
It's supposed to have been a 7.
She's slumping 6.5.
On this, no, on this 758.
Yeah.
The 758 was supposed to have been a 7. The 651 was supposed to be a 6.5.
Yeah, that's right.
The grout slurry's the wrong mix, and they need a new delivery. Without the correct slurry mix, it's too risky to continue with the pour. As they send the first slurry mix back, trucks with ready mixed concrete start to pile up.
You send that grout truck back, tell him to put it in first gear and come on, we're waiting on him. We're in trouble.
The grout didn't come out right. He just standing over there laughing and just, I'd like to go up there and smack him right in the mouth.
It's 9:30, and finally the right grout mix arrives. Now they can get the pour started. While waiting, another batch of concrete has started to set and has to be sent back.
We run out of time on that truck.
With the success of the bridge resting on this one night's work, 5 hours behind schedule, the pour finally begins.
We're getting ready to go, Harry. You stay on the line and I'll let you know when to cut it loose. There she comes.
All the careful planning seems to have paid off as the concrete starts making the journey through 800 feet of piping, coming out the other end in perfect condition. But just as they think that their luck is changing, Mother Nature makes them think again.
My dad's father, when he was 13, they were standing in the end of the barn milking cows, and lightning hit the barn and killed his father, standing right next to him. So he always got a little nervous.
The lightning is a danger to anyone close to the steel structures on the construction site. The whole team is committed to this pour. They're willing to give it their best shot. With just 8 hours to go before daybreak, they'll need a miracle to get the job done by the time the desert heat rises again. At the Hoover Dam Bridge, the crucial $1 million pour has begun, but not without a few problems.
We got a guy down there that's got heat exhaustion. We can't bring him out because the wind's blowing too hard to bring him out in the basket.
As the battle continues to keep the concrete cool, the team begin to run low on their supplies of nitrogen. If that wasn't enough, the concrete pumps are struggling to cope too.
Hydraulic rams that are doing all the pushing, right now they're hitting a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure.
At 1 a.m., they're 8 hours into the pour, but only a third of the concrete has made its way down the 800-foot pipeline to the skewback. They're now committed to the biggest race against time the project has seen. If they can't pour the rest before morning, the heat will rise, the concrete will crack, and the skewback could be ruined. The construction team are fighting their suppliers, equipment, and the elements, but they haven't given up hope.
If we get this other pump going now, we'll catch up.
Extraordinarily, the team is slowly turning things around. Both pumps are now operating to full capacity after earlier problems with the pressure. After the most difficult shift in the history of this project, the pour is almost finished.
Okay.
Finally, after 14 hours, the pour is complete. And for some of these workers, it's an experience they'll never forget.
Long and hard.
18 hours later.
Tired?
We're still alive.
Where are you going? Get over here.
You get down there and this concrete's coming from you, it'd be vibrating. All of a sudden that concrete's coming up, you're coming up with it, and then bam, you hit the rebar above you. There's nowhere to go, gotta crawl around. I don't know, it's pretty cool.
You guys go get some rest and see tomorrow. What do you think?
No one gets hurt, everybody's safe, and the concrete got pumped from point A to point B.
Get that out.
After only a few hours sleep, Wes comes back to the site to inspect the finished skew bag.
We went over schedule a little bit, and we're pushing the budget very tight, but it's complete. Well, we didn't count on some breakdowns and some problems with concrete, and we didn't anticipate quite that much, but we got her solved and got her done and ready to move on.
Both skewbacks are now complete. Carl and JP's crews of iron workers have nearly reached the summits of the columns. The construction team can press on with the next stage of building the bridge, its centerpiece, the arch.
With the completion of the skewbacks, we've essentially left land. We're on our way now across the canyon, and so what we're looking at here is the starter segment for the first piece of the arch. And so now, everything that we do now, we're moving forward across the Black Canyon of the Colorado River. This is a huge step forward in terms of milestones on the project.
For this elite crew, creating the Hoover Dam Bridge is much more than just a job.
It's a humbling honor to get a chance to be a part of something like this.
And for Wes, the scale of the job may have stalled his retirement plans, for now.
Oh, we could do a little more fishing, but I don't know, you just, I'd like to retire, but you still, you have a passion for this type of work, and I don't think you ever lose the passion.